Hey guys, time for another Q&A. You all know the drill. I'm going to read off your questions and I will answer them here. We've got a few right now, so let's just dive right into it. From Zachary Wagster, once Cassius is said and done, will you ever consider doing another story with a character that is not Force sensitive? I am considering that. I want to take, once Cassius is done, probably want to take a short break, just kind of, do some more different content on the channel outside of Cassius, outside of What Ifs, maybe a few more editorials. But I do have some ideas in mind that I think could be pretty interesting, maybe even going back to the era of the Old Republic. So if I do that, you guys will all be the first to know because I will announce it on the channel. From Clone Commander Caleb, if you were a Jedi, what type of saber and saber forms would you use? I'd probably just, why fix what isn't broken? I'd go with the single standard lightsaber, maybe with a curved hilt if I wanted to be fancy about it. For saber forms, I feel I'd probably want to go with Form 3 and Form 5. I feel those are two forms that are very... Form 5, Gemso is a natural progression from Form 3, Sarisu. But with taking Sarisu to its maximum effectiveness and combining that with the, the counterattacks and strong blows of Form 5, I wouldn't choose Form 4. I'm not a very acrobatic person, as you might be able to. I threw out my back the other day just by tripping, so we're not going to do that. I couldn't do all the flips and stuff. But if I had to choose another form, maybe Form 2. But those are the ones I'd lean towards, and probably a single green-bladed lightsaber. Thank you. From the Serpent.
Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? I thought not. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you. It's a Sith legend. Darth Plagueis was a Dark Lord of the Sith, so powerful and so wise. He could use the Force to influence the midichlorians to create life. He had such a knowledge of the dark side, he could even keep the ones he cared about from dying. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. He became so powerful, the only thing he was afraid of was losing his power, which eventually, of course, he did. Unfortunately, he taught his apprentice everything he knew. Then his apprentice killed him in his sleep. Ironic. He could save others from death, but not himself.
Okay, hopefully that, that was nice for you. From Baby Fishy. Will you do more What Ifs? Yes, I will do more What Ifs. Like I said, though, What Ifs take a long time, and I am currently working on one, not only with the What If Vader Survived Part 3, which will be the conclusion, by the way, it's a trilogy, but also one outside of that that's going to be a bit more fun and silly. So, yes, I am still working on doing more What Ifs, but they're a bit more time consuming. So that's why this next one I'm kind of working on will probably be one without all the big voice actors, one that I can just kind of do most of the voices myself, maybe with my friend Nidus helping me out. So we'll see. From the Serpent again. Is there a possibility of a collaboration with Star Wars Elseworlds featuring a possible multiversal crossover? So here's the thing. Elseworlds is a friend of mine. I consider him a friend. We chat on a fairly regular basis. I have spoken with him about the possibility of doing something involving a crossover with Cassius and Grievous. Now, Elseworlds, while he did say he's not too big on the idea of doing crossovers with original characters like Cassius and Jedi Grievous, he did give me his blessing to write out if I wanted to do a crossover on this channel and just kind of credit him of something with Cassius and Jedi Grievous. But if I'm gonna do that, I want to wait until his Jedi Grievous 3 is out, make sure I have a good idea of that whole Jedi Grievous story before I start incorporating elements and coming up with ideas for a sort of crossover. So it's a possibility. Even if we don't do a multiversal crossover like you said, I would definitely like to collaborate with Elseworlds on other projects. I already do some voices for him, so it would be cool to just do like a full-on, just full video collaboration with him. From Lucas Karsher, I always get your name wrong. How do you? Hey, do you still sometimes get Happy Meals? What? No, not a baby. I'm a big man, big boy. I'm big. I get the big boy foods. A double quarter pounder with cheese. In fact, I get anything but a Happy Meal. I don't like the chicky nuggies and milk. Next question. From Clone Commander Caleb. How do you come up with names for your characters? So a lot of it is so sometimes I'll come up with a name. I'm like, that sounds really good. And then I'll look it up and there's some very, very obscure character from the expanded universe who already has that name. I'm like, yeah, dang it. But other times, like with Cassius, it was just a name where I've said before, his original name when I was first coming up with the character was just I think it was a Escheron. Yeah. Once I decided to make his last name just be Urshan, shorten Escheron to Urshan, I decided that's more of a last name. He needs a first name. So I came up with the idea Cassius. I think, I don't remember exactly how I came up. I think we were doing something with Shakespeare in one of my theater classes, and I heard like a name that was very similar to Cassius, and I liked that sound, and so I kind of just played around with it until I got Cassius Urshan, and it sounded like something that belonged in Star Wars, like it came right out of it. Other names, I just kind of take two random names and just combine them. Like with say Rondo, I'm trying to remember what I did. I think I took the names Ryan, or Ronald, and Donald. I don't know why. I think I had Ronald McDonald on the mind. I was watching some old commercials and that kind of stuff. I was like, Ronald, Donald, Rondo. That's good. Other characters are kind of usually fall into the same plot. Sometimes I'll also use like the name Sabo. I got from a website called Star Wars Name Generator, and it just generates a bunch of random nonsensical names that sound kind of like Star Wars names. And sometimes I'll take a look at those and just kind of take bits and pieces, put them together, and create names. But it's kind of a wide variety of how I come up with them. From Frank Horrigan from Fall... I'm pretty sure you have a full name on the chip, but... Is this a Jesus emoji or moist critical emoji? Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what we're here for. That's what it's all about. I think it's moist critical. There's no way it's not. I don't think Jesus had bangs like that. From nicknames, what is a Cassius? What is anything? Why does the wind blow? Where does that stream lead? How far does that highway go? What is Cassius? He's inside of all of us. He's that inner spirit that connects every single person. He's also some dipshit who got thrown off the Jedi Temple by Vader, so there's that. Again, from Zachary Wagster. I fear I might be too late to ask a question. You're not, but I'm going to ask anyways. Here's my questions for you. Oh, questions. Oh, I'm feeling fancy. Number 1, what would you say is your favorite thing about the Cassius series? I'd say my favorite thing about the Cassius series so far has been seeing Cassius' progression as, a character going from a young Jedi to a more, grizzled survivor of a terrible event, trying to train a Padawan, and also seeing how he's not, once he survives and gets out of his funk at the end of Jedi Exile and goes into Jedi Master, even though he's starting on the right path, he's constantly battling with himself over what the right decision is. I'd say that's probably my favorite part about the series right now, aside from writing a lot of the dialogue for big character interactions. That's been one of my favorites. I loved writing when I started writing Ashes of the Order, I wasn't going to include Ahsoka. I felt that's too fan servicey. But then once we started getting into the Rebellion storyline and all that, people were saying, "Is he going to meet Ahsoka? He better meet Ahsoka. He's got to meet Ahsoka." And I'm like, you know what? Why not? We'll have him meet Ahsoka. We're in a point before Rebels, so I feel it could work. So, and as I'm writing it out, I realize I love writing, just as much as I love writing big action scenes and big dramatic moments, just the character interactions, I think, are some of my favorite things to write in the Cassius story. So I'd say those are some of my favorite things. Number 2, if you had to describe the ending of the entire Cassius series in one word, what would it be? Oh, you're just trying to fish for anything, aren't you? I'll give you one word for it. Fitting. Everything you will see in the finale, whenever it comes, is fitting. Like what happens to Cassius, what happens to Liara, Pip, all these characters, what happens to them is very fitting. I think it will all be very satisfying. At least I hope it will be. I know conclusions can be very difficult to write, but I think it's going to be very fitting. That's all I can tell you. Number 3, would you rather want the Cassius series to be a TV show or a set of movies? Why or why not? Definitely a TV show. I feel that with a TV show, you can definitely get more, more information, and you can get more attached to the characters, more story, all that stuff. Now, that being said, I wouldn't mind it being a set of movies. Like, I feel like each one probably could work as a movie, but then, we'd be rivaling the Star Wars mainline series itself with Cassius, because we'd be doing a full movie on each book. And that's if we like some bigger story that spans the entire multiple years, like Clone Wars. That's assuming that a single movie would have time to fit all those stories in. But yeah, I'd have to say a series. So thank you for the question. From 212th Trooper, what if Cassius was given a time machine with Dragon Ball time travel rules, meaning he goes to another timeline rather than actually time traveling? Let's say he gets it shortly after Liara gets her lightsaber. I'd say that Cassius would probably go back and try to prevent Nightfall from happening. Obviously, he can't change what happened in his timeline if we're going by Dragon Ball rules with Trunks. Everything that happened in his future still happened there. But he would want to prevent the rise of the Empire any way he could in that other timeline. So that's, I think, the first thing he would do. Second thing he would do would be to tell Cassius, Sarah, and Corbin, and probably Master Takai too, just, you guys should probably, if none of this works out like what I'm about to do, and if the war still happens and all this, you guys need to leave. Get out of the Jedi Order, go find someplace safe to live. So he'd probably want to do everything he possibly could in his power to stop the rise of the Empire. Number 2, if you woke up in Cassius' shoes at the start of the series with knowledge of everything that was going to happen, what would you do? Essentially, you become Cassius with all your knowledge for all intents and purposes. I tell him to, first of all, try to get on this Anakin guy's good side. Not like that would help. Let's be honest. Who are we kidding? I would, if I knew everything that was going to happen, I'd probably, to be honest, if I was Cassius, I'd probably leave the Jedi Order, entirely, or at the very least, like as soon as I became a knight and the council deemed that I was ready, I'd probably tell the council everything that was going to happen, even though they wouldn't believe me. I think I've answered something similar to this before, but basically, let them know everything that's going to happen that'll lead up to the downfall of the Jedi. Or if I'm Cassius, knowing that only what he knows throughout the series, or everything that's going to happen, just tell the council everything that's going to happen and hopefully save a ton of lives. Thank you for your question. All right, from Jordan Cox, how did you come up with the concept of Minister Tambin? I like this question, and I'll be able to answer. So this is going to sound really freaking pretentious and stupid. It literally came to me in a dream. I was stayed up late while I was writing early chapters of Cassius Jedi Master, the previous book. And as I'm writing it, I'm thinking, I still, I have a good outline for Ashes of the Order, but at the same time, I also don't have many ideas for like who could be a major antagonistic threat. And so I'm like, you'll think of it in the morning. I went to sleep, and as I'm sleeping, I'm like dreaming about Star Wars stuff for some reason. I'm a big nerd, that's why. And as I was seeing just these images in my head and inside the dream that were so clear and so detailed that I made sure to write them down as soon as I woke up to make sure I wouldn't forget them. But I just saw this imperial leader just cloaked out in extravagant attire, speaking before an entire crowd, getting ready to publicly execute people, just speaking with a voice of authority, just being an absolute horrible dictator, but someone with so much authority and power and dignity to him that you couldn't look away. And I started writing ideas for this character, like what would he be named? And I came up with the name Locke. I just like that name, just L-O-K, and then Tambin. Something about that name just kind of rolled off the tongue, so I liked Locke Tambin. So Minister Tambin, that's how the name came. And once I got Dan Clayton on board to read the voice, like, I think if this was anyone other than Dan reading off the voice, it would come off as just another, it's a stuffy imperial leader. But with Dan reading it, he brings so much authority and so much power to it. I love it. Anytime he sends his lines, I'm just like, he's so good. So that's how Minister Tambin came to be. I wanted a villain who wasn't necessarily a Sith or some dark warrior who physically would pose a massive threat, but someone who basically has all the cards, someone who's in the eyes of the Empire at least, a dignified and strong leader, but someone who also has sadistic secrets like the trophies that he keeps, the globes with ashes in them, someone who takes pride in the evil he's committing. Think kind of like Grand Admiral Thrawn, but more sadistic, and someone who takes pleasure in causing the pain that he does. That's how the idea of Minister Tambin came to be. Number 2, are you thinking about making any more spin-offs of the Cassius series? I have some ideas. Right now, the only one I can confirm is Takai. Sorry about that. Blanked for a moment. Takai is the only one I currently can confirm is in the works as a spin-off. I wouldn't call Clone Wars Chronicles a spin-off. I'd call that more of like a side story or a collection of side stories set during the Clone Wars. So it's not necessarily a spin-off, more of like an addition, like something to add to the lore. Same with Pip's Tales of Terror. It's just more of an addition, something fun. But like I said, I do have some ideas. I can't, name what those ideas are without giving away some big details. So you'll have to wait and see. Do you have any more ideas for what ifs you would like to make in the future? I do have some that I'm mulling around in my head. If Penti Patrol would slow down and stop taking so many of them. No, I'm joking. Penti's cool. I do have some ideas that I'm mulling around, but again, these things take a lot of time. So when I get to them, I'll get to them. And I may put up a poll seeing which ones you guys want me to do in the future. And number 4, would you be interested in making another original Star Wars series outside of Cassius with a new main character? I hope you have a great week. I actually, again, have some ideas where I have these. I have some ideas, but I can't really name anything concrete yet until I know that I have a solid outline and a plan. So once I do, I will let you guys know. Thank you again for your question. So, from Nolan UNO, I think that's how you pronounce it, Q&A. Number 1, if you became president of Lucasfilm right now, what would you do? If I became president of Lucasfilm right now, the first thing I would do, Cassius series. No. The first thing I would do if I became president of Lucasfilm is I would want to try to get all the creative minds in a room together and say, all right, what are we thinking for future films? Because I know right now that, Lucasfilm's main attention is on their Disney Plus series. But I think Star Wars, first and foremost, should always be a set of films. I think the films are the bread and butter of Star Wars, at least in my opinion. Other people might feel differently. So I would want to get Lucasfilm back on track with putting out films rather than just shows, making these Star Wars movies feel like events again, rather than just, oh, new series coming out next week, I'm excited for that. I would want it to feel like there's a new Star Wars movie coming out. Oh man, what's it going to be? So that's probably what I do right there. Number 2, do you have any plans to rewrite episode 9 in your What If series? Well, obviously, like, things from episode 9 will change in my What If series, but I have an idea. I have a partial What If written out that I started writing a long time ago, and I might come back to it at some point, but it would basically be my take on the sequel trilogy. Again, it would take forever, but it may come out if you guys want it. Just know that you're talking to someone who does enjoy the sequels, so the things that would change would most likely be things that I had problems with, but maybe things you didn't have problems with, or the things that you wanted changed, I might think, I don't think that really needed changing. So, well, we'll see where that goes. Number 3, how would you fix the First Order and New Republic in canon? Biggest problems were the First Order was just a bunch of people with anger issues, and New Republic is just as incompetent as the old one. I wouldn't really do much to, fix either of them outside of give a little extra context to both of them. A big complaint with the prequels was there was too much politics. With the sequels, we didn't know enough. So there needs to be a little bit more in there. That's probably all I do. The First Order, I think, was more than just some people with anger issues. But again, if you've read the material outside of the films, they give you much more context. But again, we needed that in the films, not just in the books. And as for the New Republic being just as incompetent as the old one, have you seen American politics? That's pretty much par for the course. You think, oh, we're going to elect this new official and they'll make everything right again. Nope, they're just as bad as the last guys, if not worse. Yep. And I get that people want their fictional universes, be like, oh, these people should learn from the past and move on. But that's not always what happens. It's the same thing that happens in real life. A government will fall and then a new one will take its place, and people will be hopeful that, oh, maybe these guys will run things better. But in the end, those same problems will still arise. And I saw that as what would happen. I saw that happening with the New Republic too, that they weren't really taking the threat of the First Order all that seriously, and that Leia was the only one who really did, which I feel is not a bad thing story-wise. I feel like, Leia would be the only one in the New Republic outside of maybe some of the higher-ups who were part of the original Galactic Civil War who would take them seriously. But even then, if what I've read is true about the First Order, they weren't really doing all that much that warranted, New Republic intervention. They were definitely doing some suspicious and sketchy stuff, but nothing that was, at least in the eyes of the New Republic, cause for alarm outside of Leia, who was like, hey, these are some serious red flags. And I think, part of it is with the New Republic, they figured, what are they going to do? Like, they're a fraction of what the Empire was. Like, anything they've got, we can take care of. And it was that complacency that I think led to their downfall in the end. And I kind of like those stories. Hubris leading to your downfall is, a big staple of fictional storytelling. So I wouldn't really do too much. Just probably add more context. Thank you for your questions. And I think that is going to do it for this Q&A. Thank you guys so much. If you have any more questions, you can always leave them in the comments and I can answer through the comment system, or I can answer them in the next Q&A video. We have more content coming very soon, so be sure to stick around, and may the Force be with you.